What is up, YouTubers? It is Nile and Billy Tucci with episode 2 of Crowdfunding Comics. And how you doing tonight, Mr. Tucci?
You know, I got to tell you, I'm pretty terrific. You know, it's been a month of Sundays since I've seen you. No, actually, it's been only one Sunday since I've seen you and talked to you. But it's good to see you guys. And we got a great show today, our second show. And we've got two big guests today. And this is something that I'm really jazzed about because I'm going to fanboy out a little bit here, but first,
I'm with you.
One of our two guests, we have one of the most beloved comic book creators for the past 30 years, from all the way as his young start as a lark writing letters to Marvel Comics and interacting with Stan Lee, to his role at Pacific Comics, to Eclipse Comics, to DC Comics, to Marvel Comics, Mr. Beau Smith. He's also one of the few comic creators to have his own postage stamp. He's the winner of the Krabby Award, but most importantly, he's also one of the recipients of Stan's prestigious No Prize Award. You guys will all know Beau from Guy Gardner Warrior, Batman vs. Wildcat, Catwoman vs. Wildcat, Cobb, Wynonna Beast, the She-Wolverine book that we did, and of course, Wynonna Earp. But it gets even better because Beau is joined by Montreal native, veteran actor of Instant Stars, Schitt's Creek, entrepreneur, and the star of the hit television series Wynonna Earp. With Melanie Scrofano, I'd like to introduce People's Choice Award winner, Gemini Award winner, and soon-to-be Eisner Award winner, Mr. Tim Rozon. So let's see you guys.
Wow.
Welcome, gentlemen.
There they are.
Thank you.
And of course, we're also joined by the always affable J.C. Vaughn.
Always.
Kind of small. There he is. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on. I'm just so excited for you guys to do this, to help us out with this is our second show. Our first one, we had Brian Pulido of Lady Death fame. And you two come to us because you, with Wynonna Earp, were able to forge a Kickstarter that you raised over $132,000 in 30 days. And I guess it goes to show, Beau, in your case, that you're never too old to find super big success on your own. It's
That's very true. The blind pig does find the acorn on occasion. But, you know, just like if you take a good president, you surround yourself with a good cabinet, and you can be the dumbest guy in the room but still, you know, come out all right. And I surround myself with people like TR there with Tim and Melanie and the rest of the people I've been fortunate enough to work with. And I come out looking pretty good because we go through a comic, somebody go, well, I love this, I love that. And I said, yep, I wrote that. And they go, I hate this. I said, Tim did that.
Well, we're gonna talk about a couple aspects of the world of Wynonna Earp. A, of course, the two of you. B, the comics themselves. And C, and what I believe are the world's greatest television fans, the Earpers. We're gonna get into the Earpers because I am just fascinated by them. But Beau, if we could start up to those out there who have not watched the television series or bought the comic books, who is Wynonna Earp?
Wynonna Earp is the descendant of Wyatt Earp, the famous marshal lawman. And as we're in the 1800s, he hunted regular criminals. You know, the cowboys who were the organized crime at the time. She hunts down paranormal criminals. So, you know, if a werewolves knock off a bank, she's the one that goes looking for them. If a vampire flips on the rest of the vampire clan, well, she's the one that makes sure he goes into witness protection program and stays in it. So it's a whole twist on the modern branch of the Marshals. She's in the Black Badge Division, which is a covert branch of the U.S. Marshals that Teddy Roosevelt enlisted Wyatt Earp to be a part of back then. Actually, this battle with the paranormals, as Tim will attest, has been going on for thousands of years, which he and I, since we've started working together, we have dealt a little more into that, especially in the Season 0 series.
Well, now, Tim, and if I may, for those of you that obviously a lot of you do know, but maybe for some of you don't, Tim plays Wyatt Earp's best friend, Doc Holliday, in the series. And I got to tell you, I love the film Tombstone. I've watched Wyatt Earp. I think it's okay with, is it Dennis Quaid and, of course, Val Kilmer. But I got to tell you, Tim, you are by far my favorite Doc Holliday. You really are. I mean, you bring this smoldering, you got your humorous parts, but you got this little meanness to you. And it's real honest. And I think if Doc were around today, I think he'd be proud to see your depiction. And what I'd like to know is, what's it like to go from playing a character on a TV series to also writing that character and the rest of the whole cast, actually, in a comic book?
Yeah, that's quite the jump. Listen, first of all, I'm like you. I was a huge Val Kilmer fan. I must have seen Tombstone just a mazillion times as a kid. I hear Amiel Huckleberry, and I still I get warm and fuzzy. I know exactly who he is and who it wasn't. I remember when this part came along, I knew exactly who Doc Holliday was. I knew all about the OK Corral. I knew all about Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday, and I knew he was a gambler. I even knew he was a dentist. I knew Doc before. I go in and I do an audition, and I've done, I can't tell you how many, but I knew right there and then that I did a good audition.
Yeah.
It's not something that happens all the time. Trust me. It hardly ever happens. But I knew right away, this guy lives somewhere inside me here. And I hope the right people see it. And they did. And, to get to just live the dream of playing Doc Holliday was one thing, but, then the whole fact that it was based on a comic book, and then, I got the chance, God bless Mr. Smith, for bringing me in and giving me that first opportunity on Legends. And then to get to where we are now, to actually write the characters, write my co-stars. It's a surreal experience. It's a dream honestly come true for a kid who's dreamed about comic books from day one. I've been a comic book fan and a Doc Holliday fan. So it just felt like it was meant to be.
There you go. Now, Beau, on the same slant, what's it like for you to see Wynonna Earp, Bobo Del Rey, a bunch of other characters that you actually created, and have written for over 20 years come to life on a screen? Because you're one of the few that have actually seen it. I mean, even though how big comic book television series are now and movies are, it's still a very small community. So what's it like to see that?
It was the first time that it hit the weird level was when they sent me. There was like 300 actresses that tried out for Wynonna Earp, and the weird part was over and over again in these auditions, seeing these women. Some of them looked exactly like her, some of them looked nothing like her. Take that badge, you go, Wynonna Earp, U.S. Marshals. Just hearing a physical person say that, and when they look kind of like it was something that never really made sense. But I was like 12 years old and going, this can't be happening to me. And especially, I probably would have believed it more at 25, 30. But, a guy in his 60s, I was going, this is somebody's going to pull me out of the party here any minute. And to be honest with you, I had 3 actresses pulled out for Wynonna Earp. I mean, I had nothing to do with the casting. They always asked me, give us your top 5 of whoever they were casting the role for. And I always did. And I was real fortunate that in that top 3 I had, Melanie was, she just had that swagger to her that did it. And I got to say, the other 2 actresses that I had picked have also been on the show. So in a way, wow. I got the trifecta. They were in other parts. I got to be honest with Doc. I saw a lot of the Doc representations and auditions, and they were all over the place. You had older guys, you had sickly actors, they were all playing it different ways. Tim was in my top 5 because I've still got that piece of paper written around here. And Tim was one of the last ones I saw. And he was sitting in a chair and he was looking about like he does now. So he didn't have any mustache or anything. And I remember he was repeating the lines, and the only mannerisms, had the slow Southern drawl. And he goes, yeah, and he'd point to the head, talk. I can't talk like he does, but just these little mannerisms. It wasn't anything overt. And I said, this actor he's cool. He's thought this out, and he's thinking while he's saying these lines. And I just thought he's really good. And there was another actor that I was, honestly, I was kind of rooting for him too. If he would have gotten, it would have been. But he was a character actor I'd seen in a bunch of things, so that was why I was swayed that way. But Tim was dynamite. And then the first time I got to meet him was on the set that first season. And, Melanie's a real hoot. She was hugging, oh, it's Beau, it's Papa Earp. I think that's the first time that came out. But Tim's a little more of an introvert. Like, he was hanging back. He was like, hey, how are you? This, that, and the other. And I was thinking, well, for an actor, he's kind of quiet, And then we got to talking on that first show just for a little bit because he'd been shooting. And the common bond came up, comic books. And we kind of went back and forth. And every time we'd talk after that, the conversation was more on comic books than it was TV things, this, that, and the other. And I remember telling my wife Beth that one night, and I said, the Rozon guys, said he's good. I said, he likes comic books. And that was like, that was the vetting right there. I said,
that brings up the question I want to ask, which is this. Beau, you and I have both been around long enough that we've seen actors dabble in comics. Guys who barely sent an email to the guy who actually was writing the comics. From talking to you privately, I know that Tim's involvement has been different than that. Could you describe that?
Oh, and I don't even know if Tim can attest here in a minute, or an hour when I get through. He, had written scripts and screenplays. He had, that kind of thing. But he came in and basically goes, what kind of program do you use when you write this stuff? And I told him I use Final Draft. An hour later, he had Final Draft. But the first stuff he turned in, he already had the mechanics down. I mean, he was bang, bang, bang. The only thing, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong on this, was, I just said, try not to go at X amount of panels and remember the dialogue. We don't have all that, the time that you have on TV. But it was no time at all. He sunk right in. He knew how comic books were paced. He knew how they were paced, how they worked. And what Tim really has, and he had this immediately, he knew if the character was talking, even though this character had the floor, Tim knew how to make the supporting people, even if they didn't have a line in the panel, how to make them unique. I always call it the Steve McQueen thing, where, like in The Magnificent Seven, Yul Brynner may have been talking, but Steve McQueen was back there, fooled with his hat, did something with his gun. He made the supporting characters come to life and be an important part of that panel. So now we're in automatic. When Tim does this stuff, I know he's got it nailed. There's never any, there's not any teacher-student thing. This is an equal thing right off the bat. I mean,
Okay, Tim, for your part, Tim, what's it like co-writing with Beau?
Yeah, like, how do you guys write? Do you guys write with it? What's your writing process? Do you do Marvel style where the art comes first and then you script it, or do you do full script and Final Draft first and send that to the artist?
Take it, TR.
Well, first of all, I'm just getting over the fact that, he said we're equals and he's no longer my teacher. So that was a nice little moment for me to have there. Just going to appreciate that for a second. What we do is normally we have a very, it's tough to even say that as what it becomes, but there is an outline, a very rough outline of what's going to happen that we talk about. And you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like maybe months before we even start writing, we talk about story ideas and hope one of us writes it down. So when it gets time to it, we can get back to that. So there's a rough idea of where we're going. And then normally Mr. Smith will kick her off. And then from there, who knows? He might write 2 pages. He might write 5 pages. And he'll send them to me. And then I literally just pick up the ball and keep running with it. And
we do. Tim, we have, we do write in the process of, I write, and I'll just say, because I usually do start off, I'll write a scene, then Tim writes a scene. And like Tim just said, some take 2 pages, some take 5, whatever. But I'll write a scene, he thinks, and we just keep going. We know where we're going. But the beauty of this is, I'll never forget, we were working on it. I think it was Legends. No. It was season 0. We write this thing. I get Tim's pages in next with his scene. He's killed a character off without. He didn't tell me, and I'm going, I guess, okay, scratch that note off. I'm not going to use him in this. But that's the great part, because then it makes me adapt, and it raises the bar. Okay, all right, I see where you're heading. Let's make this a little more complicated without being too complicated. And Tim, what's it like? I don't want to ask you real quick, since I don't mean to take the thing. What's it like for you if I send you something that you weren't expecting? I mean, what's your first reaction on that?
Well, that's my favorite part about the whole process is to be honest, is that it's what you send me, is that it's not going to be what I expected. It's kind of like that's the only thing I find comic books and acting have in common. It's like when I get a scene the night before, I got to learn my lines before I go in to film it the next day. You know what I mean? But that's all I try and do is learn my lines, because if I try and picture how I think the scene is going to be, it's never going to be like that when I get to set.
Oh, okay.
Ever does it work out the way you think it will. You might have a director who wants you to do it standing horizontal the whole way, backwards. There's just no way you could plan what's going to happen. So it's the same with writing. I know where we think the story's going, and I know what I think he's going to send me next from then where I could take it. But it's the curveballs that I appreciate the most. And that's kind of the best part of it, because then it's just, oh, shit. Wasn't expecting that. And the best part is that I still get to be a comic book reader, fan of books as I'm being a writer. It's really just the best situation I think you could be in, because I get to read the pages. At first to read them, and I'm just like excited, inspired, and then oh shit, okay, now I'm actually working on this. Okay, so how does this work into the next part? And it honestly, it's been it's an absolute riot. One of my favorite things is a mistake we had made. I'm not going to say what it is. A mistake we had made that we ended up having to turn, and then both of us had to, oh shoot, and then we had to go back and fix it. And in fixing it, did we not find something really special too?
Yeah.
So it ended up being better. So it's just, the unexpected is my favorite part. Now,
do you also obviously being a Montreal native, a French Canadian actor, and you had to learn a Southern accent, to pull off this Confederate. I mean, he was a Confederate soldier, wasn't he, Doc Holliday earlier? No, or was he too late for that? Too old for that? Too young?
No.
He was not.
But, okay, but he was a Southerner, right?
Oh, Georgia, yeah.
Yeah, so he's a Georgia boy. So when you had to learn, to get with your obvious accent, to turn that into to get a Georgia accent, to be this with this drawl and all, of course, and you research the character. And once you got the role, and now with the book, are you like a Doc Holliday? I know you knew who he was before, but do you have books on Doc Holliday? You know what I mean? Are you a big fan of the actual man himself? And there you go.
So, I'm moving. I have boxes everywhere, literal stuff, and I of course pulled that out. Yeah, but like I said, I was before, and the voice that's just a voice I had always kind of done. I do not do accents. I do not practice accents. I'm not trained in accents like other great actors would be, or good actors. Like I'm saying it, like a good actor would be trained in things. I'm not that guy. So that was just the only one that I knew. It's cliche, but that character, that Doc character, was always there.
All right.
Well,
I think this is a good time to show a clip of the character. I mean, your portrayal is phenomenal. It is my absolute favorite character on the show. So if you don't mind, I think we should play a little clip. All right, guys. That was clip from season 1, episode 4, and I just love that scene right there.
Groovy.
All right, well, let's talk art, if we may. It's something I have an affinity for myself. Now, Beau, you've worked with some of the most amazing artists in comics, and especially on the Wynonna Earp books. I mean, you from Laura Innes to Angel Hernandez, that insane what he did with the book, and now with Chris Evenhughes. Can you tell us about them? Can you tell us about Chris, Angel, Laura?
Sure.
It's a little insight on that.
Laura wrote the first, in the first, we had 6 issues. Chris did 3, but she did the rest of them through 6. And Laura, who I'd known since she was 18 and in art school, she brought a real whimsical feel to Wynonna Earp and all the characters. And it came out actually 2 months before the first episode was ever aired. So she was everybody's first look at it. And she added a really whimsical look. And I knew that going in. So I wrote those first 6 issues to her art strength, which was almost an animated type of feel.
A slight manga influence.
Yeah, a little bit, and plus some animated look that she's now an animator at one of the studios. But with Chris did issue 3, and when we saw him, there is an actor's artist, and I think that's the way TR has always referred to him as, and he truly is. He just nailed the likenesses. I mean, this gave people who are already been watching the show now, oh, this looks like Doc Holliday. This looks like Agent Dawes. And the Earpers, the fans just really were drawn to the way Chris represented them. It wasn't like photo reference, but it was like them coming to life in print, kind of like the 80s AHA video. It was one of those kind of things. If that, it doesn't date me because I go way back. I still think that was yesterday. But Angel Hernandez, Tim and I, for season 0, really thought that series was near and dear to our hearts on a lot of different levels. It was something we both wanted to exhibit: camaraderie, loyalty, and friendship that turns into family. And I other than the Black Terror, which I did in the late 80s, early 90s with Chuck Dixon and Dan Brereton, that I will always classify as some of my best work. Season 0 is the other one on the same level. Personally, no considering, but I really believe that's some of my best work. And the neat thing about it is I could split that with Tim, knowing this is Tim and I's best work. And Angel was a surprise to both Tim and I. He came in, and we had no contact with Angel because he does not speak English. We worked through an interpreter with the scripts. He came in, and it was like literally he had ripped the scenes out of Tim and I's heads. And both Tim and I, when that arc would come in, we were the 2 12-year-old brothers under the Christmas tree in our sleeper pajamas with dancing this horrible dance. I mean, Angel was, he's just amazing. I challenge anyone to read season 0 and not come out of it going, somebody messes with my friend, my family, I'm going to be there to back them. If we have to bust heads, we're going to bust heads.
Yeah, you truly hit a friggin' grand slam with that one, too.
So,
it was wonderful.
That's mine on those 3. Tim, on the 3 different artists. Well, more so with Chris and Angel because you didn't work with Laura, but what do you think?
Oddly enough, it's such a small, wonderful world that, just before you and I started writing Legend together, I went online, being in, it's 2000, whatever it was, and I could, and I just checked on writing comic books online. Like, is there any pointers? There was, and it was Laura Innes giving them. It was her talking about writing her book, The Dreamer. And she kind of broke down her experience and gave tips to aspiring writers. And it's oddly enough, the first thing I ever read, and only thing I ever read about writing comics, was by Laura Innes. So, you know what? She was there from the beginning, too, which is crazy. I actually just framed her pieces before, because I said I'm moving, and I'm finding all kinds of stuff, and I found her piece that she signed for me, and I just framed it. I'll get it after. But it's going back to what Beau said. Chris is a real. He's an actor's artist. he has an ability to draw the expression that a Waverly or Wynonna feeling without the words, without the bubble. You don't need our words for it, and that's a testament to how good he is. You understand the emotions of the characters, and it's kind of like Beau said. I find he understands the TV personalities quite well. Also, he draws them well, the emotions also.
Yeah. He's got a real clean line too.
Hey guys,
Yeah,
super clean.
Guys, we're just getting some comments on some echoes. Does anyone have the YouTube up and not muted?
Not me.
Let me see if I do. I might. Let's see. Yeah.
Quite well.
I should be off.
I'm off.
You're off.
I have it. I don't have it.
Yeah, same here.
Echoes, still echoes. Let's see, still echoes. I'm all in caps like an elegant people. The art is beautiful. Yes, the art is beautiful. I mean,
Yeah,
incredible.
Angel, it's like Beau said. I mean, this guy, just he killed it. That book for me. I don't know if anybody hasn't read Season 0. Like Beau said, I'm so proud of that book as a comic book fan. I'm able to step back, forget that I had anything to do with it, and just read it. And really, I love it for the story that it is, and the art that guy put into it was incredible.
He made it a film.
That first Keegan.
Everybody's saying it's still echoing, by the way.
Yeah, someone's echoing. I mean, mine's off. I'm definitely off.
I don't even have it.
I'll quit out. I quit out my YouTube. Are we still echoing? Can anyone read? Nile, they still question. Can you ask? Nile, can you type in, or Jeff, when you guys have quit out on mine? Apologies, it's our technical difficulties. She ain't got no money. Season 0.
Dana says it only started 5 minutes ago.
I wonder if it's when I brought you back in, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff.
Well,
can you join back in? Can you quit out and join back in? Or, mute you.
I'm going to mute Jeff really quick and see if we still have echo.
All right.
Bye, Jeff.
Sorry, old bean.
What about now, guys? We have echo?
Bunny Men.
Still getting echoes? Maybe, maybe not.
Go on.
Only they could have muted Billy.
Who goes?
I know.
Billy. Oh, gotcha.
Let me type in now.
The guy in the middle doesn't echo. That's me. I don't echo.
Echoes.
But the rest of us do,
Everyone
possibly.
else
The
is...
middle guy has the power.
Boomer echoes.
Okay, let's see something.
Guy in the middle doesn't echo. That's nice.
I mean, I can quit out of the crowd, out of the
Don't
YouTube,
quit
but
out yet.
mine's muted.
Don't quit out yet. I'm going to try something. This is weird. This didn't happen before.
Is Billy echoing? And I'll go through everyone's name. We'll find out who he is.
And that was the point of Season 0. Don't echo out.
Beau is echoing.
I'm
Beau
echo.
sounds better now, Dana said. Is that your Dana, Beau?
It might be. I don't know too many others.
There's Wynonna Earp. Wynonna Earp. Wynonna Earp says depends on who's talking. Fixed. It sounds like it's fixed.
Okay.
Well, they'll let us know if we go. Yeah. So.
Do we still have echoes,
Sounds good
guys?
now.
Sounds good? We'll have to cut
Sounds
this
good.
out
We'll
of
go
the
with it unless
version.
somebody complains. Well, speaking of Wynonna Earp, if we may, Tim, and you could tell this more than anyone. Can you let's talk about this worldwide phenomenon known as the Earpers? You know, like tell us how did this happen and who are these people? I've never seen anything like it in my life. It's almost like you're a beetle. Wynonna's like a beetle, the whole cast. And I saw it in San Diego this year and last year. And you guys were like rock stars. You think the Justice League?
I gotta stop you there. I gotta stop you there, Billy. You got that reversed, and I think Tim can agree. They are the Beatles. They are the rock stars. Without a doubt. They are so phenomenal. They are it. Tim can give you even a recent view on that.
Yeah, I would. That's what I would have said. I would. The best, my most favorite thing about the Earpers is you can remove us completely from the equation, and what they have and believe in and have created is for me. It just makes me want to be the best version of the person that I can be, because that's what I feel they all do. It's a beautiful thing, and honestly, these people change the world. And they don't have their show right now, and my heart breaks for them. More for them than anything. They deserve it. They inspire me. They're my favorite people in the world, and I'm honored to call myself an Earper.
So what do you guys credit this to then? Again, you say that they're the Beatles, and I totally get it. I get it with the readers who come to me, and to Jeff can attest as well. And I mean, these people changed our lives. You know what I mean? I'd be paying bridges for a living if it weren't for them. But what can you, what do you credit?
I think I've got a theory on it.
Yeah.
I 21 years ago, created Wynonna Earp. All right. There obviously was a seed or a spark in there that spoke to someone and somebody, but in those 20 years, I did not find that exact recipient for it. And then Emily came in, and she had a seed and a spark also.
So and who's Emily? And let everyone know.
Emily Andrus is the showrunner and main writer of Wynonna Earp. And I think her spark and my spark started something, but still, that
started a bonfire.
Putting it on a worldwide stage, which is what Emily, the cast, and the crew did, that was the attraction. Okay, that's the old saying, if you build it, they'll come. Well, the stage is built, but then they got on the stage, and something in Wynonna Earp but on the whole story that Emily, and the actor, everybody put on that stage, they got up and played the music. I mean, it was music they had always heard in their head, and now they had a stage to play it through. And they have been, I've been in comic books 32 years, and I've seen when someone thinks they're right or wrong, sometimes people attack each other, or they disagree and it gets uncivil. The Earpers have never, ever done that, and they've had opportunities where other people would have done it. Mm-hmm. I would have done it, but like Tim said, they make me think, nah, that isn't what you do. I'm not going to do it, and they're the inspiration for that. There's been many a time. I mean, like I said, I'm the oldest guy on the set. I'm the oldest guy in this whole thing, and whether he can't do anything to me, he's too far away. Tim's one of the most thankless, selfless people I've ever met, and I got to be honest with you, the Earpers are on the next level. They're even more thankless and selfless, and that's pretty good. I mean, because I find myself in the last 3 years, I found myself when I'm wanting to turn into Dark Beau again. TR wouldn't do that. The Earpers wouldn't do that, so I don't do it. It's tough. It's tough.
Well, Tim, I got to say, and Beau, and I'm an Earper. I've been an Earper for 20 years. But like you said, aside from their incredible and very local vocal devotion to Wynonna, what strikes me most is what you said is how amazingly civil, respectful, and positive they all are, especially now in this time of internet, incivility and disrespect. And it's incredibly refreshing that there's this positive energy surrounding this television series, which is really so dark and deep with demons and monsters and things like that. But it's almost like you're like a giant family. I mean, the actors, the cast, I saw you guys at San Diego, and the people are screaming at you, and you guys are hugging the fans. You know what I mean? You're taking photos with them. It's almost like, it's like a family. And I'm wondering, is that how you attribute it to? Like, do you see them like that? I mean, it's It's incredible.
Tim, you've been on other shows. Does this? I've already said it. I've never experienced in comics. How about on other shows and stuff that you've been on or been part of?
It is a family. It's not like a family. It just simply is a family. I don't know why we all, cast wise, from Beau to Emily, we all just met. We all got along. We all like each other. Everybody respects each other. And if that trickled out into the fandom, that's what the fandom has become. It's a very respectful place. It's a warm place. It's full of kindness and caring and giving. I've never seen such giving people in my life.
Yeah.
The things that I've received are one thing. Those are just the gifts. I mean, out of this world. But I mean, the warmth of themselves and what they've given me and the communication and the talks and these people have given me pieces of their heart, but they were right to do so because I hold on to it. I don't disrespect the kindness that's I've been afforded there. Now, and I try and give it back.
Yeah, and getting back to your neck now, did we lose Jeff? Jeff is gone.
We lost Jeff. So I think he's gonna stay off. Look like we corrected some echoing issues because we had lost him. Then when I brought him back, they said there were some echoing issues. So.
All right, we'll see.
He
Maybe we'll bring him on at the end.
Came back off. Yeah, we can get him back on at the end. But just so I just want to touch base on the Earpers. I mean, how many? I was reading like so many billboards they've purchased.
Yeah.
Just fight. Was it like 85 or 55 or 85 billboards that have been purchased, and they're just spreading it through. And I mean, the movement is just. I mean. As an actor,
and this is in Times Square.
I mean,
Times Square, New York City.
I mean, they're spending some serious money. I mean, that's just
fight for Wynonna.
Right there. I mean, fight for Wynonna. I mean, it's a great show. I really, so I think it's awesome what they're doing. It's such a great fan base you guys have.
Yeah, Tim, you recently experienced that live.
Yeah, I was in New York City last week with them at Times Square. With the billboard, Michael Eklund was there. We went down and hung out with, I couldn't even tell you how many fans showed up. Must have been over 30 Earpers and us, and we were there, and there was billboards. That we had got for them as thank yous, and there were billboards from them. And there's even Big Sign Message, who's in charge of putting up those billboards, did a thank you billboard to everybody. So it's Earper Square is there, and it's listen,
Earper Square.
I was just gonna, that's awesome.
I'm telling you, they were there on on the corner. It's like a triangle, and you've got the billboards here, you got the billboards there. But I didn't even see them. I had Earpers in front of me, and I was just talking to people for I don't know how long I was out there on the street talking to everybody, but I wasn't even noticing billboards that far. We were just it was like seeing a lot of old friends, a lot of old faces that I've seen at multiple cons and met throughout the years, or if I didn't meet them, I meet them for the first time because I recognized them from Twitter, and we're calling each other. Sometimes someone said, "Oh, you don't know my name," and I didn't know their first name. They were right, but I knew their Twitter handle.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's it is a family, and the best part of being in New York was being with them on the street. The billboards were secondary.
Yeah, the billboards didn't light up the square that night or any other night. It's the Earpers. That's for sure.
Yeah. Phenomenal. I've never heard of anything like that. Well, I guess that's how you got your People's Choice Award, huh? Them. It's all them. There it is.
Because they wrote that in, correct, Tim?
Yes.
It was a write-in.
I mean, I'm not going to be the first one to tell you that I think we're the type of show that would win a People's Choice Award. Now, I'm not saying that because I don't think we deserve one, because I think we really do. I think the actors work really hard, as do the writers, and I think it's a great show. But let's be honest, a sci-fi show doesn't win People's Choice Awards too often.
And a small Canadian production.
It really just doesn't. So this was just the Earpers giving us, I mean, that's why it bothers me that they always have to fight. It just feels like they've been fighting since day one for us. And like it's funny, but they fight with respect, and they still do it in an admirable way. But at the end of the day, man, I'm tired of them having to fight all the time.
Yeah.
They deserve to just enjoy it and be happy, and I know they will either way because they're Earpers. But man, do I I just want the best for them.
Well, you know, it's like they've captured the true spirit of an Earp. You know, fighting for what's right. You know, it may be hard, and you know, you lose people. You know, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Look at, you know, going back from Wyatt's day with his brothers and all, and they've really encompassed the entire spirit of Wynonna Earp, and it's pretty phenomenal. Now, hopefully, and I'm sure a lot of them did buy your comic book, because that's what this is, crowdfunding comics.
Yep.
So now, Beau and Wynonna Earp, Bad Day at Black Rock, right, is coming out this summer. And
Yep.
you guys had a hugely successful Kickstarter campaign, again, raising over $132,000 in 30 days. And, you know, so I know you got a full plate here. So with the story is that you have this paranormal prison that, you know, that Theodore Roosevelt created, as you said.
It's in Mount Rushmore.
It's in Mount Rushmore. Okay, so it's housing the the most dangerous, you know, paranormal criminals, right?
Right.
So then there's a jailbreak, right? So
Bobo Del Rey, the main Wynonna's main nemesis, is coming to Black Rock to break out his brother Mars Del Rey, who was the bad guy in the very first modern Wynonna Earp. So he's coming to break his brother, and the rest of everybody that Wynonna has put in there, they're coming to break them all out.
So man, so you're basically, it seems like you're almost making a Destroy All Monsters of a comic there, because it's like you're throwing everything from the kitchen sink to spoons and spatulas and knives.
Toilet,
I mean, now it sounds chaotic, you know what I mean? And it's an epic, and I'm just wondering, how crazy was this for you two guys to write this? Like, how did the process come to actually create this storyline? Whose idea was it? You know, how did you guys feed off each? Because it sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, it sounds like a blast.
It was built up from issue 1 to have introduce all these different bad guys. And in each one, no one really got killed. They got put in Black Rock, and we made sure that everyone knew, you're going to Black Rock. That's the place none of them want to go. And from issue 1, it's always been built up that there was going to be this big bad day at Black Rock at some point. And Tim came in at Legends, where Tim had discovered this true real-life cowboy cannibal bad guy named Boone Helm. And you know me, I'm a Old West aficionado. I mean, I know stuff, but this guy was under my radar. And actually, if I remember right, he was born in Kentucky, which is just 2 miles down the road from me. But Tim brought this guy up, and he goes, I think this guy would be a great villain for Wynonna. And it just, between him and me, ideas for this guy started flooding. And he is, Tim, would you say he's probably one of the most cerebral bad guys this side of Thanos? I mean, he's not our, Bobo Del Rey's our Doctor Doom, if you want to put in Marvel, and Boone Helm is our Thanos. This guy he's amazing. He's just an amazing bad guy. So, you know, he's in there too. So, I mean, it's complicated, and Tim and I, every once in a while, would have to check those notes to see, you know, where we're going, this, that, and the other. But we've got so much going on in this. Talk about Boone a little bit, Tim, and what you always sum him up a lot better than I do. I mean, you know.
Well, it's just it's like you said. This book had so much in it that at first it was overwhelming. I'm not gonna lie, just the pure, just the capacity of it. I mean, we had everybody. They're all there. Those are just the villains. Hero wise, you know,
we have everyone as well.
Fight, you know, everybody's. But it was in simplifying it. So we started breaking it down that we really discovered the story. Of what Black Rock is. And at the end of the day, it's a story about parallels. And Boone Helm is the parallel to Wynonna Earp in so many ways. As much as Bobo is, so is Boone, and Boone has his other parallels that are going on. Boone never physically was a threat to Wynonna Earp. And even in Legends, he was never a physical threat, whether or not but mentally, he was a foe that she had never faced before. And so he was the kind of guy that he was one step ahead. It's kind of like, you know, I've been really addicted to chess this year, and yeah. So it's just kind of like he's just one of those guys that if I just always, the way I envisioned every interaction with Wynonna was a chess match.
Well, yeah,
it was never full on. Even when she wins, if she won, it's probably because in that moment he had it planned that she was to win.
Oh wow!
You know,
okay.
And that's how it was in Legends, and trust me, it continues well into this book. Don't get me wrong, I super loved season 0. I got a place in my heart for it that it will just always be there. But I'm really excited for people to read Blackrock, and I think as fans, they might even get more of a kick out of Blackrock. We have a lot going on in there.
We've got like Tim said, we got the parallel of Wynonna and her sister Waverly, and everybody who's an Earper or watches or reads Wynonna Earp knows of this special sister relationship. But in this, they get to find out the darker side of a sibling relationship between Bobo and his brother Mars, and how it parallels Wynonna and Waverly's. And then you've got, like Tim said, we've got Boone Helm, who's over top of all this. And has he orchestrated everything, or what? You're just hanging on everything that's happening. And what's going to happen to Black Badge if they get exposed? I mean, there's jailbreak in Mount Rushmore. People didn't know there was a paranormal prison in in Mount Rushmore. They didn't even know really that there were paranormals. So this is a true explosion of chaos.
Yeah, and you got the government involved then, right? I mean, if it's in there and TR, you know,
even more dangerous. We have the millennials involved.
Yeah.
We got it all.
Well, you know, and I love, Tim, what you were saying about, you know, that she has to fight with her brain, because my favorite Spider-Man stories, you know, going back to the Silver Ages, when Peter, you know, won his battles with his brain, not his brawn, not just his brawn. He wasn't tying up the rhino, you know what I mean, his legs and spitting him up, you know. He was you know, he had to beat Doc Ock with his brain, or the Vulture, you know, things like that. And they always make the best comics. And you know, speaking of villains, Beau, what's it like for you to see, you know, like Bobo Del Rey, that he's in the television series as well? Do you have much, or do you have any input about what goes on in the TV series, you know, as far as stories? Like, have you had meetings with them, and, you know, and you know, with the staff, with the directors, and, well, what about this direction? Do you have any kind of input with the television series?
Contractually, really, in reality, they just got to send me a check every once in a while. That's the only thing they have to do. But from day one, Emily, the writers, even and the directors, even when I'm on there, have just been gracious as hell. I mean, you know, you have your set visits, and usually in Hollywood, that's slap on your back. Oh, yeah, catering's over here. Glad to see you, Mr. That's it. This has been an entrance into a family from, there you go.
I locked one of my cats, our cat, out.
From top to bottom. So Emily has always just been so wonderful in parts of taking things from the comic books that she feels that they can use, they want, without overlapping and messing with what I've got going on. And I, in turn, doing the comic books, don't want to mess with the vibe and the storylines that they've got. And Emily and I talked a long time. This was on the way to the premiere in a bus. And we wanted it to be, when Wynonna Earp TV series is on, everyone's getting their episode once a week. And when that show's over, whether it be in mid-season or through the week, they've got the comic book, which is basically new episodes going on. The continuity is different. Like in the comic book, I've got some have superpowers, some don't, and vice versa. We never, like in the comic book, Doc and Wynonna have never been an item. They've kissed once, but it's a different thing. And I do that in the comic book to give more characters come into Doc's life, in Wynonna's life, and give more story drama that I can put in there. But, you know, Emily and Melanie got pregnant, and then, you know, in that, how much drama can you have? It's Doc's baby, it's this, that's huge. So we're both getting to do what we want And we hope that the winners are the Earpers who get something new, Wynonna Earp, all the time.
Yeah. Now, speaking of that, like with Wynonna in the comics. Now, I'm known for those out there who don't know me. I'm known best, I guess, for my self-published book, She, and it's like a modern-day samurai story. I know, and comics, and Wynonna Earp is is an extreme rarity. Even though that, thankfully, now we do have more women reading comics, more girls, more LGBTQ people reading it and stuff. But for the most part, it's been historically a male-dominated readership.
Yeah.
I got hate mail when I gave my character Anna Ishikawa a boyfriend. Have you ever gotten anything like that with Wynonna? Have you ever had? They did not like, I guess, some of these guys that maybe that they see a female character as their own. I mean, you look at Wonder Woman. You know what I mean? Steve Trevor, people don't really like him. They don't want her with him. You know, Wonder Woman's got to have Superman maybe, or maybe even Batman. They love that idea of Batman being with her. But it seems so when you have a strong female lead, it seems a lot of fans don't want that character for one reason or another. Especially in my case, they don't want them to have a male love interest. Say, now, have you experienced that with Wynonna at all? Or
no, I didn't want Wynonna Earp. I can tell you again.
I went from badass. That's a good one.
I went from having an audience of males 15 to 55. That was my core Wynonna Earp audience. With the show began and everybody started reading the comic then it switched to females 15 to 55. And I talk to them all the time, one of the things. Their thing is, they're all up for Wynonna to have love interest. In fact, they want her to have, date a lot of different people just to get different drama in there. And at the same time, they're just as adamant. They love the way hot relationship between Waverly and Nicole. That also gives them, they're getting both sides of everything. They're getting some of the most diverse romantic drama that you can get. So no, in fact, I get suggestions all the time about who they want to fix Wynonna up with. And to be honest with you, it's not really Dolls. It's not Doc. It's no one in the core group. They're wanting new characters to come in and out of her life so that, in fact, I had one just recently at Lexington Con. She had it quite thought out. She was going, if you have a different one come in every issue, then at some point they're all going to be in the same issue, come into town at the same time. And what's she going to,
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
It's one of those kind of things. So, well, we've already had, Doc's kissed Wynonna once in the first series. And then we had, after that big battle in season 0, Doc and Valdez left in the same car together. We'll just put it that way. And that's a gunfighter and a possibly 1,000-year-old princess warrior. They've just defeated the bad guys, and it's after the rock concert kind of a thing. And so we have some of that, but the Earpers have been and the readers in general have been very open to everything, and that's been
in
great.
The chat definitely want to see Doc and Wynonna together.
There you go. So, let's talk about you guys now a little bit.
Yeah.
Now Beau, you've dominated this conversation much and not let Tim talk at all, but let's have him say something now. No. Seriously though, Tim, we know you're a comic book writer and an actor, but I understand that. I know that that's not all. Can you give the viewers out there a little bit about yourself? Like, what other kinds of work? What businesses? What do you do when you're not on set or writing comic books? What else do you do in your life?
I can just put it quite simply and tell you this, Mr. Tucci. There's two types of bees. There's queen bees and worker bees. I have always been and will always be a worker bee. I just like to stay busy, and I like to work. So I co-own a couple of restaurants. I own an agency with another friend of mine. I've got a couple of apps, and I act and I write with Beau Smith. I like to stay busy, and I like to work. I think I would have been a good soldier, because I like direction too. Yeah. I don't want to be a director. I know that much. I don't like responsibility too much, and I have a whole bunch of it. But I like, if you give me a list of things to do, man, I'm your guy. I will get everything checked off on your list. come back
Roger
and say,
that.
what's next?
Awesome.
Give me another list.
Now, we all know that Beau is an avid backpacker, outdoorsman, #outdoors. That's his thing. But I understand that that you also have your fair share of outdoor activity, especially fishing. Can you share some of your fishing, some of your fishing stories or your other outdoor interests. What's when you're not being the worker bee. What do you like to do? I understand hanging out with the family and stuff, but do you have your escape? You get on the water. What's your thing?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. I used to go to sleep at night watching these videos on YouTube of guys catching sharks from these Hobie kayaks, these ocean kayaks that are they're controlled with your feet, these pedal things. And I went from watching guys doing this to buying one of these kayaks, and I just kind of travel around when I'm not working and find crown land and go to where no boats have been before, where you're allowed to just, if I can hike it down there a good mile, I do. So I do have a deep respect for bears. I do live in Canada. I have seen them many times. I don't want no beef with no bears.
I guess if the bear wants your fish, you give it to her or him, huh?
You know what? Look, I mean, they call it fishing, not catching.
Yeah.
I don't want people to get. It's not just. I just like being out there in the wilderness. There's something about it. That's kind of my peaceful, quiet time, and that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, heck yeah. Now, something that I'm interested. Let's talk guns.
There you go.
All right, this is my model, my Remington. Yeah, it's my Remington model 1858 New Army model New Army. Beau, I know about you. Your thing being a West Virginia boy. Do you have a favorite gun or?
Yeah, personally, and all my life, and you can tell if you read any of the comics that I've done. I've always got a character that carries a 1911 45 ACP. That to me is just the perfect. It's just the perfect handgun.
Yeah,
I mean, it's what It's just the handgun to have. I think it was just, and that's why it's been around for so long. So handgun wise, yeah, that's my perfect. My favorite shotgun would be correct me if I'm wrong, but is it the 1897 trench gun? Trench gun, Winchester.
Yeah.
That's my favorite shotgun. Rifle, it varies, but those two definitely. But I have to say that since everyone, the cast, the crew, have come into my life and the TV show, the Buntline 12-inch Peacemaker has won a new place in my heart. So there it is right there. It's not exactly like Wynonna's, but it'll still buffalo somebody in the head.
Now, what type of firearm is it known? What type of firearm Wyatt Earp or Doc Holliday had at the shootout at the OK Corral in 1881? Was it? I think it's 1881, right?
It was 1881. Yeah, on Wyatt's end, two pistols were supposed to be. One was a Schofield top break, and the other was a Colt. But the Colt was a waistband with the. It wasn't the long barrel. It was one that was shortened to like when you played Pharaoh and stuff, to stick in the waistband. Mm-hmm. Doc had what was it, Tim? He traded off of the shotgun that day, didn't he?
Well, I'm trying to remember, because in the movie I believe they gave him a shotgun, or he couldn't hold the shotgun. They said he was injured at that point, or maybe they'd given him one of them, wasn't it? But his actual gun was while we're showing weapons, this is my cat scratcher, needle point cat scratcher.
He outmanned us all.
Yeah.
When we did talk about the gun, the armorer was one of the first people who ever called me for the Wynonna set, and called me and said, "Hey, let's talk about Doc's gun." And I said, "Well, I think he's got to have the Colt." He says, "Yeah, 100%, we got that. That's his pistol." But I was thinking about giving him Peacemaker on the other side, so he could have two. So because Wynonna's gun that she uses is called the Peacemaker, but it's not actually a Peacemaker. It's too long. It's that.
Right.
It's the butt line. Right.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah. And when my first day on set, when I met Dominique Provost-Shockley and Shamir Anderson, was at a gun range at about 7 in the morning. And the first day I met Dominique, she was standing this far away from me, firing that shotgun.
Oh my!
Oh wow!
So now
I can't do her British accent, but she was like, "This is fun, mate." And I was like, "Well, this will give me a fun show." And Shamir was like a pure natural. He would just another one, give me another one, another one, and I was like, "Ching."
Now,
for the people that don't know, Dominique is how big, Tim? Would you say?
She's not. She's not super tall. No. So
and maybe 100 pounds and to be shooting that sawed-off shotgun.
She is solid. She's solid rock muscle. I wouldn't want to mess with her. But
Dynamite
but
packages.
Yeah, she's pretty much like the shotgun. I think she's the equivalent to a shotgun. She just packs that punch.
Yeah. Well, we know that Doc, you carry Doc carries several types of firearms. One that single action Army cavalry model, and then
the Colt Thunderer is the one. That's his gun. That was the actual gun he had.
Oh, what?
Blanking for some reason. But yeah, it was the Colt Thunderer, and that's the gun that he uses on the show. That's the real one I fire. It's a real gun we have on our shows. Nice. They go back to the armor after we wrap every scene and back in their safety box. And when we're firing, sometimes we're shooting blank, but you're still firing the weapon.
Yeah. Is that the Thunderer? Is that it, or the Lightning with that beautiful curved the grip, the handle? It's not like this; it's curved.
Exactly.
I mean,
birds.
That's gotta be. Yeah, it's gotta be I think that's the most beautiful firearm ever produced. I really do.
Look, I'm not a big gun guy, but as far as gun goes, I love that gun. It feels great. I bought a replica before I went out to Alberta to start shooting, just to get a feel with it. This is one of the best gunfighters in the West that I was about to portray. I wanted to do it properly. I started learning to, the moves, the spins. I'm real good at it.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Yeah. I got there, and then the gun Calgary cowboy guys, you're not going to do any of that spinning garbage, are you? The real cowboys didn't do that. They didn't shoot the gun. And I said, yeah, of course. Of course. But at the end of a couple of scenes, I'd always I also don't smoke, and I hope I look like I know what I'm doing too, because I'm always, I just look so cool with those. I don't smoke though, so I'm always trying to smoke and hold these guns and be like, yeah, we got this.
Now, have you ever fired that particular either of those pistols at the range? You ever shoot it with that 45?
Yeah, that's the only one I'll ever shoot. I only shoot. Later on, I got another. I got a shotgun in a couple of scenes. But when we used to go to the range at the beginning, because we requested, Shamir down to do anything. You know what I mean? Like he really wants to get into the character too. So he was playing an agent, special agent. So he was like, any chance to go to the gun range, he'd go. And I was like, I'm supposed to be Doc Holliday. Let's go to the gun range and let's get good with these weapons. So I only would request, Colt Thunderer and shoot it.
Nice. Yeah, I remember. I shot. I'm sorry.
I do shoot both hands, and I do like that because I do realize that in the first couple of episodes I shot mostly with my right hand. That Colt Thunderer. Well, Doc was left-handed.
Oh, really?
So
yeah.
Yes, But the thing is, Doc lived in that well for 100 years, and he had his guns down there. So now I've told myself he taught himself to be ambidextrous with the guns. So that's why late in season 3, you only see me shooting with the left hand. I mean, in season 2, I'm kind of going with both of them. I just tried to even it all out so it all makes sense of, historically.
Yeah, I remember I tried to, and that's great, that you now how is it the movement to draw with your left, being a right-handed person?
Oh, like I said, I don't know why, but I'm getting pretty good with those guns. I can get them out of there pretty quick. I can get them back in there pretty quick, and I'm pretty quick on the draw because it's not just the drawing action. You have to cock it on the way up. but you also have to cock it on the way up without shooting yourself on the way up. You understand? But it's emotion. It's a beautiful thing. I mean, you just learn, you just practice.
It's an art.
The weight of it, I know it. I just know it. I'm very comfortable with that gun, especially the Colt Thunderer.
There's a great video of a guy who was doing just that at a target, and he shoots himself in the leg. If you guys Google, I just shot myself. He shoots himself in the leg.
So, so guys, just to get kind of back on the topic of comics, and what we have going on. So, as far as the future of Wynonna Earp, do you guys have any plans for any other stories coming up? Any other books that maybe you want to let us in on?
Well, Tim and I have talked about where we want to go next. And again, it's like Tim was talking about earlier. We're talking about it all the time. I mean, we're talking about some stuff that may not happen for 10 years, but we're always got something in mind. But Tim and I have also talked about just outside of Wynonna Earp. We got a pitch we're working on that we're both pretty passionate about, and it's non-Wynonna related, and it's Tim, would you call it kind of a superhero book in a way?
I mean, I think we both agreed we want to not simplify, but just really get down to just the raw bones.
Oh, you're talking, on the Wynonna Earp. But I'm talking about the other thing you and I.
Oh, other thing.
Yeah. Because we're not a one-trick pony. We've got other cards in our deck. Awesome. So that's what I'm saying. Would you call it that other thing we've been talking about as kind of a superhero thing?
Yes.
Well, see, we're trying not to give away.
Yeah. But now,
it sounds like you want to tell it, Beau. You sound like me.
You
got to keep the cat in the bag.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
It's too good an idea.
Anyway, we've got more than Wynonna Earp.
Awesome. And with the success you've had with your Kickstarter, is that are you looking to take that direction with, say, this other venture you guys are working on? Do you like the crowdfunding style, the processes? Do you think you'll keep going down that path with some of these books that you have?
Tim and I are open to anything. I mean, on this, IDW handled the bulk of it. I mean, it was something they had done, and they were equipped to do the fulfillment. They're already set up to do all that stuff. That, to be honest with you, fulfillment and Tim and I I've never done one. Tim's never done one. We don't know that much about it, but as far as that goes, but no, they were set up for it. It worked well. Tim and I on our own to do something of our own jointly. We're open for, publisher or Kickstarter or any, we've got, at least the discussions we've had, we're open to everything. And this worked out great in the fact that it went directly to our fan base. Tim and I can honestly say our fan base is what funded Bad Day at Black Rock.
Yeah.
They were amazing. We met goal within 7 hours, and we exceeded that in less than a month. So it was for Tim and I. It was like we want to create a small gift for the Earpers. Well, we did, and they supported it. They made it happen. There's no two ways about it. It's real transparent. They made Bad Day at Black Rock.
Now, I'm going to digress and go back a bit because I'm writing my notes down, and these questions, your answers are wonderful, but I'm going to skip back a bit. As a comics fan, I'm a little curious about something. You both introduced a new character named Nora Rad. Now, seems kind of interesting where that name comes from. Tim, just out of curiosity, do you have a favorite comic book character of all time?
Well, oddly enough. Listen, Silver Surfer's my all-time favorite.
Well done.
The first, he gave me, Boone was kind of, we had talked about Boone. Boone is a real guy, you know what I mean? And when I talked to Beau about him, he got real excited about him. So Nora was the first character that I was able to create, but you know, we both ended up creating her because we both wrote her, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just the name was, I kind of got to. He gave me that honor and the privilege of naming my first character, and it could only be ever.
Yeah, well done.
Well, it was a natural thing because Tim brought Boone Helm in. Like I said, I'd never heard of it, and had these ideas about the character, and it was just every time Tim would talk about him, I kept seeing, and then when we started doing Nora Rad, who was originally a bank teller that he, in quotes, held hostage in the bank, but knowing Boone, he'd already planned all this out. I just saw Tim's head working like Galactus had a herald. Blah, 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 blah. You know, he just...
Hey,
you know.
need to
No, the name...
Hold the phone.
No. But I'm talking about the name. No, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm talking about her name. So that was a tribute. Well,
No.
I'm just joking. I'm joking.
That was a tribute. That was a tribute to Silver Surfer being his favorite character, because everyone else would have named her Shalabal, but he, you know, Nora Rad. That was, that was just brilliant on his end, and it was neat to see Tim bring this in, and man, he was just click, 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 and I just sat back and watched the clicks add up because he was building this story right there before my eyes. It was amazing.
Well, I got something for you, Beau. All right, so if Beau steps over the line, the habitual line stepper that he is, and telling things that you're not supposed to give away secrets, Beau, you're going to get the bell. All right. Now,
well, that was the other fun thing in doing this too, is the ability as I think comic book fans for each other is to put those little Easter eggs in there.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that you brought it up, it makes me really happy, because that's why I did it also way back then, was for the people who would get it. Hey, wait a second.
Yeah.
Nora Rad.
Yeah.
That sounds a lot like.
Yeah, that's great. Brilliant.
Yeah. So it was just an homage to the greatest of all time.
Well, now that we're speaking of other characters, and I know that Wynonna Earp is your first comic you've ever written, Tim, and we know your favorite character of all time, do you have a wish list of characters you'd like to write? Would you ever like to write for Marvel or DC? Are there any of these characters that you didn't create or that are so close to your heart that your partner created? Like, is there any mainstream books, any characters that you would like to write that you know?
There's a book, an image book, actually, called Lazarus. That I absolutely adore. I really love Lazarus. I would love to write a part of that. It's funny, people said, "Oh man, if there's a Silver Surfer movie, you got to be the Silver Surfer." And I would never, in a million years, no. I don't want that. I love him too much. I want to go to the cinema, enjoy my movie. I want to watch somebody else. I'm not the Silver Surfer. He's out there or she's out there somewhere else, and it's not me. But I would love to write Silver Surfer, just to be alone in space. It's kind of like me on my kayak. That's what I do. I'm the surfer out there, man. I'm just alone in the world, thinking about goofy things, and that's the surfer to me.
I think Marvel would jump on that. I mean, have someone of your ilk and celebrity to write that. And that you have such a passion for the character, and you are an established comic writer. So I think that's hey, Marvel, you're out there listening, CB? Give TR a call. Now, Beau, you've written lots of characters. Do you have a favorite comic book character? And if so, would you like to write that? Or is there a comic character out there that you haven't written yet that, that's a bucket list thing?
Oh, right off the top, it is Submariner at Marvel. A lot of people are always surprised if I tell them that, but there is one certain storyline that is so untapped with him that I would love to do, and I'm I still could have my chance. It's funny, 32 years writing, and the closest I've written for every major and minor comic book publisher there is, except Marvel, other than when you and I wrote and did Wolverine She, but that was even under your That wasn't a
banner. Yeah.
Marvel banner. That was under Crusade Fine Arts. So that kind of is a bucket list. You know, I've not done an official Marvel book, and that was what got me into comics, was Marvel. But Submariner, definitely, I have a storyline ready. I mean, there's, you know, that's for sure. I've been lucky enough to work on Wynonna Beast at DC, which is, I'm a second, third, 15th tier superhero kind of guy. Those are the ones I really have an affinity for. And Wynonna Beast was one of them, but I've got a whole thing for him. Wildcat, I've gotten to do multiple times. Still got more stories for him. I've still got that. But I'm always the second, you know, like at Marvel, I'd love to do Red Wolf. I'd like to do Bloodstone. There's a Skull the Slayer. There's a lot of them that I'd like my hand at. But Submariner would, I've got something I think the Submariner I would do wouldn't relate to just niche Submariner fans. This is something all of them are going to like. And that would be my point. We've had a lot of different versions through the decades, but this one I feel would be one that everyone could relate to. So yeah, that's mine.
Well, I hope our pal Joe Quesada's out there watching and listening, because I think you got a home run there, Joe, from these two brilliant guys. All right, getting back to the crowdfunding, because we had talked about going an hour, and now we're over 20 minutes, and I don't want to keep holding you guys up, but as you know, as we've been discussing, you know, Earpers are fiercely devoted to the cause, and they seem to want to follow Wynonna Earp, you know, into hell. You know what I mean? But still, and you went into this crowdfunded comics realm to go do a Kickstarter, and you know, and so there is that chance of risk, right? I mean, that it might not do well. Were either of you guys fearful that it would fail? Were you, you know, let's think the night before or a few days before the Kickstarter, do you go through that anxious thing and that whole set, like, oh, is this going to work? Are the people going to respond to it? Are they going to like us? Like, did you have that fear, you know, that anxiety?
TR?
I always have that feeling. But no, I just remember this was one of those things where it was like, I think at maybe at some point people were questioning whether or not people wanted Wynonna Earp content or to what capacity they did. And then this Kickstarter happened. And well, their question was answered real damn fast.
7 hours.
This is not for anybody out there who's trying to do a crowdfund thing. I mean, it just doesn't happen like this. This was just magic. This was Earpers saying, we're here and we want content. We're starving for our content. We're here for Wynonna Earp. So yeah, it was there. I mean. I donated.
I was. So, and I know this was mostly run through IDW. You know, it was their they're the publisher for it. But are there any mistakes that might have been that you might have seen in the process, or any things that you would do differently now that you could probably share with our viewers out there who want to crowdfund their own comics?
Tim might agree with me on this. You know, every Kickstarter has the video, generally of like a trailer or the creator saying, "Hey, I've got this," and I got to say, you know, Tim's a professional actor, but some of these guys do a very good, you know, presentation stuff. Tim and I had been beaten down by San Diego Con. This was the last day. They were literally in our video. They're turning out the lights. We got finished the sign. They're going, we need to do it. We need it over here. We grabbed somebody else's chairs. We sat down and, you know, we just started going, you know, yeah, buy it, this, that, the other. They turn out the lights on us in the whole convention center. That I wish Tim and I would have had a little more time to work on, because, you know, Tim's a talented actor and I'm insane. So I think between the two of us, we could have come up with something pretty memorable. But I was told by one of the higher echelon people at IDW who just saw, you know, the video, and he goes, that was pretty refreshing. I said, what do you mean? He goes, you and Tim were like regular guys just out there. This is it. He goes, you all are what Wynonna represents, which is regular people, and you just, you know, told it like it is. He goes, there wasn't any used car salesman, there wasn't any glitzy, fancy this, and he goes, you were, and he said jokingly, he goes, you were two tired old men that said, hey, we could use a meal. Can you fix this up? But it worked out in the long run. But yeah, I think Tim and I both have that kind of, we could have done something, but I think in the long run,
it worked out. So sometimes it doesn't. So sometimes it doesn't have to be this slick, high production video, because it's got to be real. Because what's great about when you crowdfund your book through Kickstarter, Indiegogo, you are connecting directly with the fans.
Now,
you know, you're not
I'm gonna add something to your audience, and I'm gonna try and make this as quick as possible. And this is my personal opinion. This is no one else's. I think if you're thinking serious about doing Kickstarter, Indiegogo thing, now is the time to do it, because it's only a matter of time. Publishers, big ones, little ones, doesn't matter. They're going to see the success of this. They're going to, and like anybody else, they're going to see, we could be missing a chance to make some money. I don't think it's ever going to replace, just like digital comics do not replace print, but it's going to be a part of it. And if you think of a bigger company or more organized company, they're always going to be able to pay for and do these cooler tier rewards and gifts. You've got to do that now. And Tim and I have talked about this part before. You've got to make what your audience wants genuine. Anybody can make bookends. Anybody can give you this. But if you give them a piece of what they're originally buying this for, then that's something special. But, you know, any kind of business, if anybody sees, and this is business, you see the money, it's going to be hard to compete once. Let's just blow it up. Let's say a Marvel or DC starts doing this. It's going to be hard for you to match those really unique tier gifts that they're going to, rewards that they're going to give away, goals. So I would stress to anybody, if you're going to do it now.
Do it now. Now's the golden age for creators to do it.
Yes, those are my just personal opinions, no one else's.
Well, let me see. I'm going to try to get our buddy back on.
While we try to get Jeff back on, I just have a quick question. Now, have you guys ever, while you're writing your stories or creating the story for your comics for Wynonna Earp, have you ever incorporated any of the other cast's input or anything like that?
Timothy, on your end.
Well, I mean, you wrote with them, so.
I wrote one with Melanie, and I just wrote one with Dominique and Catherine. But Tim was actually working on Legends while they were filming. So, I mean, was that you know.
And season 0, I mean, we went right into season 0 just after wrapping. So, no, I didn't need to speak with anybody directly, as in, it was just, I was so connected to all of us. I mean, after a full season, you're in it. You're so in it. It takes a while for it to forget I'm not Doc Holliday.
Yeah.
But I'm also so connected to the other characters that, you really. It's funny to go to that too, because it's not my least favorite, but Doc isn't my favorite character to write either. You know, and he's not even the one I write the most. You know, in the book, it's other characters that, you know, that I really love to get into also. But yeah, coming off set, I'm really fresh on how I think everybody, the characters would talk and feel. And
did you ever have any of the other cast members who knew you were writing at the time going, what do you have my character doing? You know, just chit chatting, anything like that ever?
Definitely when we first started, and then I think when it came out and everybody just saw how awesome it was and everybody got a kick out of it. The trust, the trust hasn't been broken, so I think on that end we're still pretty good. I think had I broken the trust, I think I'd get a lot more questions.
Well, guys. Nile, what?
Yeah, we got Jeff is back on. JCV is back on with us.
Hello, Old Bean.
Hello.
Yeah.
And, well, guys, I just want to thank you all, Tim and Beau, of course. Thank you guys for doing this with us. We're just about out of time. We've got an hour and a half. Real quick, I can talk to you guys for like 4 hours.
I know.
But Is there something we can do a shout out to people? What's your website, your Twitter handle, your Instagram, Facebook? Can you guys like share that with the viewers? Because I see a lot of other comic fans on here now that may not necessarily be Earpers.
TR?
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
I'm at Beau Smith Ranch for Instagram and Twitter, and then Facebook at Beau Smith. And I'm there. I've been there forever. So those are the three that I do. And it's at Beau Smith Ranch or Beau Smith. Pretty easy.
I think I'm the only person in the universe who's never had and don't have a Facebook. But you can find me on Instagram at Real Tim Rozon, and the same at Twitter at Real Tim Rozon.
All right. Well, we're getting something interesting here. People are saying Frozen Ball Dude is back. And
it seems like totally wonderful. I mean, the realistic thing is that I could never sit still that long.
Well, the stream just isn't the same for me without Frozen Ball Dude. So
I think that's really excellent.
Well, I think we should.
And the guy in the middle does talk. The guy in the middle talks.
Since Jeff is back, I just want to commandeer the conversation a little bit more one more time.
All right.
I hope everybody that's been watching this stuff understands and realizes we've got, I'm not going to say an underrated writer, but we've got an underviewed writer, Jeff Vaughn, who I've known for quite a long time, but I've read his stuff forever, since he started. And he and I share a combination with the series 24, the television series, and then the adaptation and the creative stuff that was done. Jeff has written a lot more. He is really probably the 24 writer. But Jeff has his own book that he's doing right now called Vampire PA, which I have been fortunate enough to have read some of this. And this is someone speaking from experience now. This is a film. This is a TV series waiting to happen. Right eyeballs on the right content. It's right there. Same way with his book that he did before called Zombie Proof. It's ready to go. Jeff has, again, I'm trying to be quick because I know you guys are having.
Thank you, Tim.
Jeff has a super ability of what he writes, whether it's established character or his own. His is probably the most entertainment ready material that I'll read, and it's like go to. You always see as a film, you always see as a TV series or a video game. So I would suggest folks really checking out Vampire PA because. Being on both sides of the business, Jeff knows all that, but you can always tell nothing against his publishing work. He's a writer first.
Yeah, and Jeff's Vampire PA, I just posted in the link, is live. Jeff, you went live. I don't know, an hour and a half, a few hours ago.
At 6 o'clock Eastern.
At 6 o'clock, and you are already
43% funded.
43% funded in 3 hours. So please, guys, if you can, go to Jeff's. I did a variant cover for it. Go to
you did the main cover for it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did the main cover. Okay, groovy. The Vampire PA, Bite Out of Crime one shot with the Frame Brothers, incredible talented duo. They're twins, right?
Yes, they are.
Mm-hmm. They are, and they're fantastic. He's got 17 days to go. He's 43% funded. Let's try to push him over the top.
They'd probably be put over the top if Tim and I weren't doing this. We probably would have already written the check and it had been done.
Well, there you go.
And it's up as a Crowdfunding Comics recommended comic. It's been highlighted.
Here's the exciting thing for me, is that really I feel like one of the original Earpers. I put Wynonna Earp on the cover of Overstreet's Fan number 20. It was somewhere before the dawn of time. And I've got to say, I've been a fan ever since then. And it is the same sensibility of like Trailer Park Vampires. I mean, come on, Trailer Park Vampires is hard to beat. But that's why I had my crew hanging out in a movie theater. I had to do my own thing, and of course, it has nothing to do with my title character in Zombie Proof, Billy Bob Drywall. looking like somebody in this discussion. I won't name names, but at any rate,
it's not nepotism. It's not nepotism. It's hero worship.
It is. Because dating back to Beau the Philosopher Man in comics, I've been a fan of what Beau has done. The great thing, fan of what Billy has done, and then getting to be a fan of Tim's, and then a lot of people don't know behind the scenes Nile really helped push the 58 trade group. That is Billy Gucci's Billy Bob Drywall, which we made into stamps.
And I have the original. I have the original cover artwork that is for sale, unless it went. Did the original art?
Not only did it go, your rough and your first rough have already gone too.
Oh, both roughs? This rough?
Gone. Absolutely.
And this rough have all gone. Oh, thank you, guys.
And the level of sport's been fantastic. This is the first time that, this is all seat of the pants learning stuff like it is for most of us, but this is the first time I've opened it up to international folks, and we did that, and I did that to places where mainly friends of the Stargate Atlantis and Star Universe comics had reached out to me. So I made it open to Argentina and the Netherlands and the UK and Germany and Belgium.
Oh, nice.
All right, old bean. Well, listen, your reverberation and echoing is back, so we're going to say goodbye to you, but we're going to, like, just, if you could mute yourself, you can still be on. But let's thank, well, just like, wait.
I'll mute.
Well, yeah, Nile, the brain will mute us. But thank you so much, Tim. Thank you so much, Beau. This has been a huge pleasure. It's a real honor to work with you guys. You're both amazing, amazing human beings. Thank you for coming on to our second show ever.
Yes, thank you so much.
I know we had a few bugs here. We're working out, but you guys are fantastic. The greatest of luck to you all. I hope to see you guys soon. I hope we can all make it back down to San Diego again this summer for the convention. And we'll start sharing your links. Everyone out there, please check out Wynonna Earp, Bad Day at Black Rock. And also check out Jeff Vaughn's Vampire PA one shot. And maybe we could roll out, Nile, with Jeff's video. Yep. And again, adios, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You guys are wonderful. I hope to have you back on. Maybe when the book actually does hit and it's out there, we can have you guys back on for a fun show. And drink some beers or something like that, and check out the show. So thank you all. Want to walk us out, Nile, and make mine Wynonna Earp. Here's to all the Earpers out there. You guys rock. I've never seen fans like you in my life. You guys are all wonderful, and it's truly inspirational to see the support you have given to these two wonderful human beings. So thank you, and salute.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Oh, and real quick. Now, everyone out there, please subscribe to our page. We're new. We've only been around for a couple of days, and we already have almost 300 subscribers. Oh, look at you, kitty. And also, if you guys could even if you don't like this this particular show, like it anyway.
Yeah, like it,
so
share it.
Guys. Share it. Yep.
Talk
share it.
about it.
Subscribe.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Au revoir.